Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to speak on the future midfield 3 that we could see after 2 transfer windows. This is going to be the second video when it comes to this series because I did make a video about our future front 3 after 2 transfer windows, but now here in this video, we're going to be discussing the future midfield. Assuming that Xavi does continue to use a 4-3-3 system, what could be that future midfield 3 that we could see in about 9 to 10 months? And the only reason why I am very inspired right now to make this video very early is because of that match between Barcelona and Elche, and one of the best performers in that game, it was Gavi, which is why I want to talk about this immediately, because there's just so much to look forward to. With the amount of players emerging into this starting 11, it just gets me so excited. Now, the one thing that I do want you guys to realize, right, I want you guys to really pay attention towards this. The starting midfield that I am going to be putting on within this starting 11, that midfield that I am going to be talking about is already in Barcelona, so there's not going to be any new players within the future midfield 3. I do not even think that within these next 2 transfer windows, there is not going to be a single player available in Europe that can just come into Barcelona and replace one of these players that I am going to be talking about. Like, yes, I know that there is Kimmich, there is Kevin De Bruyne. I understand that these players can come in there and just start immediately under Xavi Hernandez, but they're not even going to be available. So when it comes to the realistic players that will be available for these next 2 transfer windows, there is not a single player that will be able to come in here and replace these players that I am going to be talking about. As a matter of fact, these players that I am going to be speaking on, I strongly believe that they can and are capable enough to be the best in the world, the best midfield that many will be seeing in about 9 to 10 months time. So just like in the previous video that I did make, I'm going to be talking about our starters, and then I'm going to be speaking on the backup of those starters. So it is going to consist of 2 interiors and 1 central defensive midfielder. But let's first start with the left central midfielder, and I am going to go with Gavi. I'm just going to say this right now. Gavi is capable to be in the top 5 best midfielders in the world in about 2 or 3 years time. This is a player that does have it all, and I have also said before that Gavi does look like a mix between Gattuso or Vidal and Xavi Hernandez, and I'm not speaking about based off the level, right, because I don't want to say that Gavi is going to be historically the best midfielder ever that has graced the game. What I am saying here is that the style of play that Xavi and Vidal did put out on the field, Gavi has those 2 characteristics in one. Gavi is a warrior. He is someone that does like to put his body in front of the player just to simply protect the ball, which is something that I do love to see, and that makes him a very reliable player. He rarely does lose the ball, and his passing is immense. I remember that ball that he did place towards Nico Gonzalez, and Nico Gonzalez did score. That was one hell of a through ball. The other thing that I do enjoy to see Gavi do is his check-ins. Like, he is always available for all of his teammates. Every time Busquets needs to find a passing outlet to pass it to, Gavi is there. If Frankie needs to pass it to someone, Gavi is also there. If Memphis needs to pass it to someone, Gavi is also there. He is everywhere on the pitch. He is always making himself available. He is basically the definition of the third man, and he is evolving as a player. Like, ever since he did start during this season, the one thing that I have seen very different when it comes to Gavi under Koeman and Gavi under Xavi Hernandez is that this is a player that is learning how to run between the center back and the full back, right? He is evolving. He is adding more characteristics in his game, and I have talked about this before. Those runs that he is making between the center back and the full back, that is very important because that is adding more options for these other midfielders to pass it to, because the fact that he is making himself as an option within the final third area, confusing the defenders, forcing the defenders to get reorganized, that is only going to cause havoc for the opposition, and Barcelona is going to greatly benefit from that. And Xavi has done this throughout his playing career, and I'm so happy to see that Xavi is teaching Gavi exactly what he was doing back in the Guardiola days. I also do want to say this. I want to thank Wijnaldum for rejecting in the very last minute for not coming to FC Barcelona, because if Wijnaldum actually came and Koeman got what he did ask for, we probably would have seen a midfield of Busquets, Frankie, and Wijnaldum, and we would have never seen the emergence of either Gavi or Nico Gonzalez. So I'm so happy that Wijnaldum did say no. I know that I might sound like a douchebag saying this, but that is basically my thoughts about this whole thing. I know that this does seem like I'm looking back and trying to reflect on what we did before, but this is very healthy to do because I think that this is a moment for us to really learn from this, to know that, okay, that could be a potential mistake that we could make in the future. Before we actually analyze other midfielders out there in Europe, let's see what we do have in La Masia, because if we continue to do that and we look for other midfielders out there in Europe, we're not going to be seeing these emerging stars coming from La Masia have a breakout season at FC Barcelona. So I am so happy to see that Gavi is here, and he is going to be here for many years to come. Now, as for the left central midfielder, the backup to Gavi, that is going to be Riqui Puig. I think that Riqui Puig does nothing wrong. I understand that Gavi and the likes of Pedri have set the ceiling very high for these La Masia players, but the one thing that I really do like coming from Riqui Puig is his verticality. I like the way that he does move the attack. He rarely does misplace any passes, and I would also say that when Riqui Puig is in that final third area, he is very reliable. He knows exactly what to do. I just don't think that he is someone that is considered as a bad player. Like, he is a typical Barcelona midfielder that would make a great sub. If you guys want to ask me, okay, if you think that Riqui Puig is good enough to be a sub, what do you think Riqui Puig has to do in order for him to stand out and potentially go into the starting 11 and really test players like Gavi or maybe potentially Pedri? I would say that he needs to add more qualities in his game. Me saying that does not mean that Riqui Puig is a bad player. I want us to understand that, because Riqui Puig does everything that's necessary. But if we want to talk about Puig like how we talk about Gavi and Pedri, he needs to add those different qualities to make himself stand out. Like, for example, can Riqui Puig become a midfielder that scores a lot of goals? Can Riqui Puig become a midfielder that provides many assists like Ozil? Can he become a midfielder that is very defensively disciplined? Someone very similar to like Gavi or Pedri. He needs to innovate his game if he does want to have that breakthrough season. But as of now, I would say that Riqui Puig is a great super sub. Now moving on towards the right central midfield position, and I'm going to go with Pedri. I think that the one thing that really does excite me for the year of 2022 is this: we have yet to see a midfield duo of Gavi and Pedri under Xavi Hernandez, and that should really excite everyone here. Like, if you're not excited right now, the fact that I did say that Gavi and Pedri is a duo that we have not seen under Xavi Hernandez, and if you're not excited to see that, then you should not even be supporting Barcelona in the first place. You should be excited to see and to know that we have yet to see a midfield duo of Gavi and Pedri, because this could be a duo that might be historically one of the best midfield duos that we have seen in a while, and it's going to be very exciting to see their journey on understanding one another. Like, yes, they are going to be having some difficulties understanding in the very beginning. Maybe within those first 5 to 8 to 10 games, we're going to have to see Pedri and Gavi readjust their game to understand one another. But overall, I think that the end product is going to be world class if they continue to innovate and evolve as players. I want to see them create. I think that these are also two players that are physically very ready for what's to come, and these are two warriors. Pedri does have the work ethic, just like how Gavi does have it, and it's really giving me those Iniesta, Xavi type of vibes. But I think that when it comes to Pedri and Gavi, they're going to create their own journey. Pedri is going to be having his own way of playing. Gavi is also going to be having his own way of playing, and many of us already know what Pedri could do. We know exactly what he has done, and he has won multiple awards through that journey by winning the best under 21 footballer award. Now, if you were to ask me, how would you separate Pedri and Gavi? I would say that Pedri does have the upper hand when it comes to the creativity, and I don't want any of you guys to be confused of me saying that, because I don't want you guys thinking that I'm saying that Pedri is better than Gavi or Gavi is better than Pedri. I think that these two players do distribute different qualities, and that's what makes them very great. Like, Pedri does have the upper hand when it comes to the creativity. I think that Gavi, on the other hand, does have it better when it comes to dribbling in tight spaces, because he is a player that knows how to take out two players all at once. Pedri can do that, but not as good as Gavi. So they do have two very different high quality traits in their disposal. But as of now, this is why I do want to see a midfield duo of Pedri and Gavi. Pedri is going to be an undisputed starter within the starting 11, and the one player that I would say to back up Pedri, it is going to be Nico Gonzalez. Nico Gonzalez, as a matter of fact, is a player that can be a backup in many different positions. He can be a backup for either Pedri or Gavi or Busquets or Frankie or anywhere in the midfield position, maybe as a center back, who knows, because Nico Gonzalez is a very versatile player, and that is what makes him so special. He does have the potential to be one of the best midfielders in Barcelona and maybe potentially in the world, and he has really been gaining momentum as of late, because he does have a total of 2 goals and 1 assist, and he has done those 2 goals and 1 assist in the past 6 to 7 games. And as a midfielder, like, if you want to talk about goals and assists, Nico Gonzalez is that player that actually gives you the stats on paper, and he is having a season that is considered as another breakout season player, and his physicality does come natural to him. He's very tall, he's bulky, but he acts like if he was a small dribbler, like if he was like Gavi or Messi, and that is what makes him so special, is that Nico Gonzalez is very tall, he's bulky, but he knows how to dribble, he knows how to get himself away from very tight spaces, and I love that. It's very underrated. That does not get talked about enough when it comes to Nico Gonzalez's game, and I love to see his enthusiasm to be a starter under Xavi Hernandez. You can really see that he is trying to give his all on the pitch, and that is only going to push Pedri to perform even better, and that is what we want. We want the healthy competition. Now let's move on towards the last position, and this is going to be a very different one, very surprising one, because this position has been a position where we have been asking so many times, who is going to be the next player to replace Sergio Busquets? Because it is very difficult to replace a player like Sergio Busquets, because he has mastered this role over the past 10 years. But the one player that I do want to call out, that is going to be Frankie de Jong. And I understand, right? I know that there is tensions going around his name. I know that the Spanish media media is putting dirt on his name. But I have so much trouble believing that these type of things are real. To hear that Barcelona want to sell Frenkie de Jong in the January transfer window or in the summer of 2022, because the one thing that the Spanish media does love to do is to see these players perform bad on the field just for them to create these fake narratives. But this is normal. Like, every player experiences tough periods in their career. Frenkie de Jong right now is going through that, and what's certainly not helping is the emergence of Gavi and Nico Gonzalez. Like, we're comparing Frenkie's worst to Gavi and Nico's best, and many want to come into a conclusion and say that Frenkie needs to get out of Barcelona because he is not what we want him to be. But I do believe that in these next two transfer windows, after these two transfer windows are over, we are really going to see Frenkie understand his position in Barcelona and his role, and that is going to be the central defensive midfield position. And the main reason why I want to place him in this position and to be a starter is because of this. Frenkie has the intelligence to adapt his game in any areas within the midfield, and when it comes to me asking him to play in this position, he is going to have to learn how to intercept the ball like Busquets does. He's going to have to learn how to cover the passing lanes like Busquets does. He's going to have to learn how to recognize where every player is at and position that when they do regain the ball in their defensive half. He is also and especially going to have to understand how to work in positional play. I have a great feeling that when Xavi did say in that press conference that not many players in this Barcelona squad understand positional play, he was talking about Frenkie de Jong, and that is not Frenkie de Jong's fault. It is the coach's fault. It is the previous Barcelona that we have seen. They have not taught Frenkie enough of what it's like to be a Barcelona player. In order for you to be considered as a Barcelona player, you must understand positional play very well. Now, just to give everyone here a brief understanding on what positional play is, I'm not going to make it too long because I think that I'm going to go past like 16-18 minutes, but basically is this: Frenkie de Jong has to understand when to drop into the defensive line and create a 3 center back system. He needs to be able to do that and know how to do it very well. Or for example, when Serginho Dest is running with the ball and he's going to go attack, the one player that should be able to occupy his position, I would say that Frenkie de Jong is going to have to go into that position and cover up for Serginho Dest. That is what positional play is when you see these players be in very awkward positions. And he is also going to have to understand how to be that third man, to always be that outlet to pass it to advance in the attack. And like I've said, I know that this does seem like a lot to ask for when it does come to a player, but Frenkie de Jong does have the intelligence to learn how to do so. And then as for the backup, when it comes to Frenkie de Jong, I'm just going to have to say it's going to be Busquets. I'm not going to make this section too long. Busquets is someone that's very overlooked right now. We know what Busquets can do, and to be very honest, if we want to have a new introduction on what that future central defensive midfielder is going to look like in that second season, we're going to have to see Busquets take a step down. I think that, again, throughout these next 9 months, we're going to understand where Frenkie de Jong should be playing at, and that is going to be in his position. And by that time, after 2 transfer windows, Busquets has to be a player that must be on the bench, because or else if we continue to do this, we're just going to continue to have untrained central defensive midfielders in Barcelona, and many people are going to be saying that Frenkie is just not ready to be in that position. But I think that throughout this time, Busquets needs to make space for Frenkie de Jong, and by the time we do get into that second season under Xavi Hernandez, he needs to be playing around 25 to 30 minutes per match and become that super sub for FC Barcelona. But that is basically it, right? That is going to be the future midfield 3 that I do expect to see by 2 transfer windows. I don't expect to see any new signings being made for the midfield. I do think that whatever we do want to have within that midfield is already in Barcelona, so that is going to consist of Gavi, Pedri, and Frenkie de Jong as the future of Xavi's midfield for the 2022-2023 season. That is going to be wrapping up today's Barcelona daily news. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.